Welcome to the August 17th meeting of the Mayor and Council. It's good to see so many Boy Scouts in the audience and so many good citizens. This time I'd like Holly Groover and Ricky Groover to come forward and lead us in the pledge, and if we'd all stand and face the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First, I'd like to call Bill Anastasio to come forward with a presentation. Bill Anastasio. He is on a call. Well, the presentation was going to be that to thank the city for the being involved in the Angel Flight presentation. Councilman Orleans was leader of the pack yesterday. He led us on a motorcycle ride all over Forsyth County, and his daughter was our navigator. And I got to ride a Fat Boy Harley for the first time in my life. And thanks to Councilman Orleans' leadership, I survived. So thank you, Councilman Orleans. And now we'll hear from Councilman Orleans to tell about the trip.
Excuse me, but I was a biker babe.
That's right. We're not going to say, there's another term for it which we're not going to use tonight.
I was cleaning it up. I was a biker babe.
But we finally did get the mayor off of his little yellow scooter because he actually seriously considered that he was going to try to run with all these motorcycles on his little 50cc yellow scooter. Can you picture that? So we finally did go and borrow a motorcycle, a real motorcycle, and he actually only stalled it a couple times, I think.
Only twice.
And most of us stayed clear of him so that he had plenty of room, so if he flipped over, he wouldn't have hurt anyone else. But I have to say, he actually did okay for his first trip on a motorcycle, and he made it home.
May I make a comment? I've never seen anybody in a suit, a bow tie, and a do-rag. And if we find a picture, it will be on the website.
Anyway, we had a great ride with Bill Anastasio to benefit Angel Flight, who furnishes flights for folks who are with medical disabilities and need to get to for medical care. And that was a great event. This time I'd like to call Ricky Spencer to give us a presentation.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. We've got some good stuff tonight. On July the 13th of this year, we had an unfortunate accident at the Vickery Creek Falls. A gentleman was trying to cross the dam, and I believe he reached down to pick up his dog, and he fell over the falls. The good news in this is that he's here with us tonight. And some more good news is that we have 3 Boy Scouts that were on the scene that were prepared to do the right thing, and that was to activate 911 to get us there a lot quicker. So I think, Sue, you have a news clip for us. We're not ready yet, so I'll talk some more. We're very fortunate that Mr. Bridges survived the fall. He had some serious injuries, but as you can see tonight, he's here, and we're glad for that. And the 3 Boy Scouts done their duty. They called 911, comforted Mr. Bridges until we arrived, and then that's when the work started. We had quite an ordeal rescuing Mr. Bridges out of the creek because the night before we had heavy rains. The creek was overflowing its banks, and once we got Mr. Bridges out of the water, of course, we took him out on the side where we couldn't access him, and that was the only way to get him out. So once we secured Mr. Bridges to the backboard and put him in the Stokes basket, we had to set up what we call a high line to bring Mr. Bridges back across the creek and get him to the ambulance and on to the hospital. So along with the Boy Scouts, Mr. Bridges, and the men and women of the Rossville Fire Department, we had a very successful rescue. No one got injured on our part. I praised the men and women that were there. They worked so hard. It seemed like it was a long time getting them across the creek, but we had a lot of obstacles to overcome. So we're just, y'all about ready? we done a great job. We're glad that Mr. Bridges is here. We're glad the Boy Scouts are here. And as soon as we can get this video clip in, we'd like to show that. So do you want me to move on with...
Is the video ready?
We're getting there.
Well, at this time, why don't we introduce the actors in this drama?
First off, we'll introduce the main actor, and that would be Kevin Bridges. Kevin, can you stand up for us, please? Very good. This is Kevin. This was the gentleman that was rescued. I think Mr. Bridges would like to say a few words, and I think it'd be appropriate this time if it's okay with the Mayor and Council.
Yes, sir, Mr. Bridges.
Thank you.
And if it would, it's kind of funny that you guys are clapping for me. I was the one that was on the bottom of the river and falling off the dam. But my 15 minutes of fame this isn't what I had in mind. So thank you guys for giving it to me. I made up a couple sheets just kind of telling my story, and they'll be circulated throughout you guys, as the night progresses. But, I tell you what, I really didn't know what was happening. Once I fell off the dam, I was trying to rescue my dog. Actually, I wasn't even trying to rescue her. I was just trying to shoo her away from the edge. And then once, I didn't even know that she'd gone over. And then, next thing you know, I was over. But, there was I tell you what, the biggest thing was when I finally grabbed hold of the rock that I could hold on to and, keep myself from going down the river, was a voice. And you'll see that here. And I had no idea at the time, of course, who it was, but it says, try to pull yourself up just a little bit more, man. Get your face out of the water. And that voice just happened to be Hunter Horde. And I'm not sure where he is right here, but right there. It happened to be Hunter Horde. And just pull up just a little bit more. Just a little bit more. And I don't know if my body was in shock at the time or I don't know. But, Hunter just encouraged me to hang on a little bit. And then once I finally got up onto that big rock, which I'm sure we're going to see here in just a second, which I'm not really looking forward to. He was there to make sure that I was comforted, and I really think to make sure that I wasn't going into shock. And I've read all the stories. I was a scout myself. Now, I've never achieved the level that you have, but I was a scout myself, and I never realized what shock was, but I really think that that's what I was going into, and after I was sitting on that rock or laying on that rock, again, as you're going to see, the next voice that I heard, was going to be Captain Chris Mathis, and he says, hey, Kevin, hang in there with me, which was astounding to me. I know it doesn't sound like a whole lot why I'm standing here in front of you guys, but when somebody says, hey, Kevin, or your name, that's a big deal, and he stood there beside me, and I don't know if I was zoning in or out or whatever, but the next thing I know, I was in an ambulance, I don't know. And there are so many thanks that I have to give to people that I don't even know, I mean, there were people that were pulling me up the bank. I have no idea who they are. I couldn't recognize it. It might have been you. It might have been you. I don't know. I can't say enough thanks to everybody, to all of you guys, and I appreciate your training. And as soon as I'm able, and capable, I'm going to give back whatever I can. If that's instructing people or, receiving instruction or something like that, I'm going to do it. And the last thing, I know I'm running over time here, but my family has just been amazing.
You want to recognize them for us? If y'all will stand up. Let's have a hand for the support family. Well, you haven't been introduced yet. So keep standing.
Yeah, that's them. My daughter on the right. Well, my wife is in the purple right there. That's Michelle. All right? And her gifts to me are, well, I'm not even going to list them all. So I'll just go ahead and give props to all the little ones. All right? So, my daughter gave her bed to me. All right? We had to bring it downstairs, and she's been, bless her heart, she's been sleeping on a single bed mattress on the floor for, well, since July 13th, actually. Yeah, and I finally gave it back to her today. Morgan has been the most supportive person in the entire planet. Making sure that I'm getting my vitamins and all that kind of stuff. And Taylor goes without saying. He was there with me when it all happened. And I can't thank this guy enough because he was the rock. Granted, he was probably flipping out a little bit. I wasn't there to see all that. But he was the guy that said, hey, call my mom. Here's her phone number. This is what's happening. And he is just the bomb. So I am so very, very blessed for my family. And again, I apologize for taking up so much time, but you guys are amazing.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you
Taylor,
so very
are you
much.
going to become a Boy Scout after you've been through this?
I'm sorry?
Is Taylor going to become a Boy Scout?
Taylor, well, I don't know, Taylor.
Well, maybe you just didn't get with the right troop. We've got two good troops here tonight, and I hope you'll consider, after listening to these Boy Scouts, it's a great program and a lot to learn. And let's have another hand for these folks for sharing this with us. Chief Spencer, the program's back with you.
All right.
Can we see the video?
Well, no, we don't need to see that. You can go ahead and see that.
Well, let's continue on with our introductions while we work on the technology. Oh, we have.
That's not me. That's not.
Starts now. Good evening and welcome. I'm Brenda Wood.
I'm Ted Hall. Thanks a lot for joining us. We begin tonight with a special rescue after a man falls off a dam and into the rushing water below. As Kevin Rosen shows us, it's not just firefighters who jumped in to help.
That's Anthony and Daniel Hughes and their friend Hunter Horde in the water, talking to the man who fell over the falls on Vickery Creek. Hunter says he saw what happened.
He was reaching for his dog, and he just retore it and then just fell right over the side of it.
The kids say the first thing they heard was the man's son screaming for help. All three of the boys are Boy Scouts and knew exactly what to do. Call 911, talk to the victim, and find out what's hurting.
At first, he was kind of in shock. He was really hurting, and then later on, he just said it wasn't that bad. It wasn't comfortable, but he was kind of sore.
They stayed with him until Roswell Fire and Rescue showed up. Rescue got him to the riverbank, but then had to get him back across the river to the side the ambulance was waiting on. With the help of the boys, they set up a rope, flew the victim in a basket across the river.
It's interesting because we had a rope rescue class, not in the river, but in the pool, about 2 weeks ago, so it was good timing. We figured with the summer coming up, we'd probably be having these kinds of incidents come up.
The victim and his wife held hands before he was loaded into the ambulance and taken to the hospital. It probably didn't help that Vickery Creek was swollen and running rampant because of overnight rains. But that may have been a good thing, too.
If it's a little shallower, there's tons of rocks. If it was shallower, I think he probably would have died. But thankfully, there's more water, so he had some more cushion.
And he had a lot of help from the professionals and some boys whose motto is, be prepared. In Roswell, I'm Kevin Rosen for 11 Alive News.
I think it'd be appropriate now to call up the 3 Boy Scouts who were there on the river that day and called for help and comforted Mr. Bridges until we got there. And they are Daniel Hughes, Anthony Hughes, and Hunter Horde. Would they please come up?
Come forward, please.
On behalf of the Roswell Fire Department and the City of Roswell, we would like to issue some Good Samaritan Awards to these 3 young fellows who done the right thing on July the 13th on Vickery Creek. And the Good Samaritan Award reads, awarded to Anthony Hughes, Hunter Horde, and Daniel Hughes for assistance in the rescue of a fellow citizen from Vickery Creek on July the 13th, signed Ricky Spencer, Fire Chief, Emergency Management Director. And guys, y'all were prepared. You've done a good thing. And I'm sure that fellow sitting right there, standing right there, appreciates it too, as well as everybody in this room. So congratulations, and we appreciate a lot what you did.
Hunter, who is the spokesman for this group?
Well, we just kind of all share the title for that. But yeah, the story is pretty much how Mr. Bridges explained it. And he fell over the falls, and then Daniel and I called 911, and I sent Daniel and Anthony down to find out what injuries he had down at the falls, so I could relay them to 911. And Daniel and Anthony told me the injuries, and then after I told 911, I went down there to help them and making sure he was on a secure position and everything. And then me and Daniel and Anthony helped hold his head straight and just kept him safe till the rescuers came and took him out of the river.
Good job. Anything you young men need to add to that?
I think Hunter got it all.
All right. At this time, I'm sure my counsel would love to get a photograph with our 3 Good Samaritans, Mr. Bridges, and his family. So if the council would like to join him down there along with Ricky Spencer, we'd love to get our photographs taken with these young men. Congratulations. Good job. Good folks. I'm glad you made it. Thanks for taking care of your fathers.
Can you please step forward, please? Go down on one. Come forward a little bit. You can't get down on one. Okay, so that way we can get everybody in the picture. There we go.
That was nice.
Could I have the Scoutmasters for Troop 431 and 1134 come forward to say some good words about these boys? we're not leaving yet. We've got to listen to the Scoutmaster say a couple of words. What can we say?
There's not much to add. We volunteer and we do this for love of the boys, love of what we teach. And it's great to have them actually put it in use and realize the benefits of the training and knowledge and be able to save someone's life or assist in saving someone's life. It means a lot, and they're great guys and deserve all the accolades. Our guys just come back from the West, they've been out in New Mexico, been out on their own, learned a lot out here about being on your own. It's a great place to learn independent skills. So I would recommend anybody who's in here, and probably, I would guarantee you that probably part of the rescue squad that's in here today, a lot of them were a lot of police force were shot last night. It's a great training ground. So good job, guys. You did what we expected you to do. Woo!
Councilman Orleans and I are both proud to have been Eagle Scouts, or we're still Eagle Scouts. And we support the program and are proud of what the Scouts have accomplished. And I hope everyone that came here tonight is still working on their community service merit badge so they'll get credit for tonight. Let's head back to Dodge. One more hand for these young men.
We'll let you do it. Well, okay.
Councilman Lori Henry, do you want to say one last thing about our wonderful fire department?
You're the best.
Oh.
Yeah.
Anastasio is back in town, so we'd like to invite him to come forward and make the presentation.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. I was elected by Angel Flight to come in and present this award to the city of Roswell for all you've done to help with our Tristan's Dice Run yesterday. We were able to raise $5,700 on behalf of that organization to keep those planes and those patients going for it. So I wanted to thank you personally, from myself, my family, and to all the people of the city of Roswell who helped us, community members, business owners at all. So this is for you. Congratulations.
Thank you. This time I'll call upon Councilmember Lori Henry for some recognition of some honored guests.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I'd like to ask Chief Williams if he'd come forward, because we've got some fabulous police explorers that we need to recognize.
It is a night for it, isn't it? Thank you very much. I would like to call up Holly. Could you come up, and Ricky? Holly Groover and Ricky Groover. Get them to come up together. This is brother and I beg your pardon. This is brother and sister. You remember when Holly was here last year, she had won the Skills USA competition. This is more than just explorers. These are students from all over the nation, thousands and thousands of them that come together. And, of course, there's a process of competition. And she won last year the national. She was here wearing a blazer, not unlike this one over here to my right. This year, by the way, in a sense, she has graduated and has become a Roswell detention officer. So we have her signed up here. She's also been the captain, which is the highest rank in our explorers unit. She's been the captain of our explorers. since last year, also doing a great job in leading there. This summer, she attended the DEA Leadership Academy. That was in July or so. And where'd you guys go?
We were in Washington, D.C.
Washington, D.C. Well, I should have known. You know, you got a Federal Alphabet Bureau. Of course, they're going to be there in Washington, D.C. Again, this is explorers, and thousands of explorers, again, across the country compete for this. And they finally get down to, I think, 200 people that are invited to the academy. So Holly represents us there at the academy. At the end of that period of time, the DEA chooses one person to win their Excellence in Leadership Award. So out of all of, first of all, getting to the cream of the crop and going to in the first place, and of the 200 outstanding young people that competed there, our own Captain Holly Groover won the Billy Yount, as I'm saying that correctly, Excellence in Leadership Award, awarded by the DEA, and just the awards just keep going on. So we'd like to recognize her publicly here and thank her for her accomplishments there and what she's done for exploring in general. And I've asked her to stay, so it's her brother.
I apologize.
Yes.
Part of my regime is I require all of our recipients to say something, and if you're a captain and you're in a leadership role, you have to learn public speaking, and this is part of that exercise, Holly. So
all right.
You're up.
Well, actually, while we were at the DEA Academy, there were 4 squads. We each had a squad leader. I was none of those, and we had a team leader who was the team leader of everybody. And so when the administrator of the DEA actually got up to present this award, she was, speaking highly of somebody, and I was like, that's not me. And then she started talking, and she said, and this goes to Holly Groover. And I was like, wait a minute, my name's Holly Groover. And I was like, what? So then I got up and I, did everything, and I was very excited. But honestly, I think I couldn't thank anybody. I couldn't thank anybody more than my family. They've been, supportive of me and always, got me to where I need to go. And then also Officer Andy Reach, who is my Explorer Advisor, and Chief Williams, who gives me this wonderful opportunity. So thank you to all those who helped.
Well, now your family's here tonight.
Yes, sir.
Well, let's recognize them. And
there's a lot of them.
That's all right. They deserve a lot of things.
Hello there. You want to help give this one too? I want Holly to stay up here since she was in this red jacket last year. Not to be outdone by his sister, Ricky, attended the National Skills Competition this year as a sophomore. Holly as a senior, Ricky as a sophomore. I'm rubbing that in. You can tell. Again, this is not just explorers. These are kids across the nation, and there are a couple of thousand of them that come together and compete for this. In this competition this year, our own Ricky Groover here, who is an explorer by the way, competed in the action skills. And there he was awarded the bronze medal in handcuffing was what it was, right?
Yes, sir.
In handcuffing. So we're very proud to have him on board also. And if it's, I want to recognize, just as was mentioned before, Andy Reach, because Andy does the heavy lifting here. Andy, why don't you come up just a second, sir, if you don't mind. And I'm catching him cold. I apologize for that. But this is a man that, of course, is our Officer of the Year this year. You may remember that, who spends an awful lot of time working with these young people. And look at the quality program that we've been able to have here in Roswell because of the work of Andy. So I know that you congratulated him also and recognized him also. And Ricky, you'd indicated you were going to do that too. So congratulations to Ricky for winning this bronze medal.
Like Chief said, I competed in action skills and did handcuffing. according to them, I was the only underclassman in the place, so I feel really good about that. And I'd like to thank my family, because if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here today, and Andy Reach. And I'm glad I'm an Explorer, because that helped a lot too, to help me prepare for handcuffing. So I'd just like to thank everyone here, and Andy Reach and James Pitts, and everyone here.
Thank you.
I think I said that 5 times. Oh, and my criminal justice teacher, Dr. Tom Washburn, and Mr. Gray Sarton. If you two come up here, please.
Dr. Washburn is also involved in this. He has these guys all week long in school in his justice and law class, and the police department has been very, very pleased to partner with them and to help them in every way we can. They're turning out a top quality student there and helping in justice and law. A lot of the kids go on to be attorneys. Some go on to federal agencies, and of course we get some in the police department. So, thank you, Dr. Washburn. Would you like to say a word or two, sir?
I'd just like to point out that the collaboration between the school system and the city and the police produce young adults like this, as well as their parents. And that collaboration, you hear the very commonly phrased African proverb, it takes a village to raise a child, but it truly does take a village. And the collaboration with Chief Williams and Andy Reach and some of the other public safety agencies make our program even better and our schools even stronger. So we thank you all for that, and we appreciate Chief Williams for all that he does for us as well.
At this time, my counsel would love to have their picture taken with you all. So another photo op, counsel.
So if you guys will get here, I'm
wait, I stand right here.
yeah. Walk out that side.
You should have brought some handcuffs to demonstrate it on.
I do have handcuffs.
Well, maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe you don't have the key. Maybe not on me.
Dr. Bartley.
One more hand for these people. Thank you. Good job. I'd like to apologize to Nancy, our candidates here tonight. David Tollison, do not leave yet. We typically recognize the first time we have candidates come to a meeting to give an opportunity to say something, and we have two candidates who have announced, and we'd like to invite them to come forward. And again, I apologize for not calling you before we lost everybody. I didn't see y'all back there. We had so many Boy Scouts. So at this time, I'd like to recognize David Tollison to come forward and address the council and the voters.
It's a little strange being on this side after nearly 10 years. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Hadn't expected to speak tonight. Just coming to keep an eye on you while I'm gone. But I do want to thank all of you for your service, to thank the voters for their interest. We have a big election going on this year. Some good candidates, and I know we've got some good candidates coming along for the council races. A lot of important issues to decide, and there'll be some good and spirited debate as we move along. But it's been a great opportunity to serve, and I'll always treasure that, and I look forward to being back up there in January.
Thank you, Councilman Tollison. This time I'd like to recognize Nancy Diamond, who is a candidate for council.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That Boy Scout group is a tough act to follow, but I really appreciate the opportunity. My name is Nancy Diamond. I have lived in Roswell for 25 years. We've raised 2 daughters here. I have worked for Turner Broadcasting and commuted from here. I have owned a small business here. I have run a nonprofit here, and I've done a home-based business, telecommuting mortgage business out of here. So I feel like I'm fairly well-versed with the ins and outs of doing business here and having family here, and I feel like my experience with being treasurer of various organizations and dealing with budgets and figuring out how to do more with less is especially appropriate in this time, and I really appreciate the opportunity to get the word out.
Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Motion by Councilman Orleans. Do we have a second? Second by Councilman DiPolito. Does anyone in the audience have any questions or comments regarding the consent agenda? All in favor of the motion, raise their hands. Passes unanimously. This time I'll call upon Council Member Jerry Orleans, who is acting as Environmental Public Works Department liaison.
Thank you. First item on our agenda tonight is the presentation of the Georgia Department of Community Affairs, the DCA, not the DEA. And a Water First community designation that the City of Roswell has received. This will be presented by Stu Morin.
Thank you, sir. It's with great pride that I bring this award to you. The City of Roswell has been designated the 17th Water First community in the state of Georgia, and this is a designation created by the Department of Community Affairs. And I will read this so I don't miss anything. It's a voluntary partnership between local governments, state and federal agencies, and other organizations working to improve the management and protection of our shared water resources. As I mentioned, Roswell is one of only 17 in the state. Last week, we were honored to have the Commissioner of the Department of Community Affairs, Mike Beatty, come to present this, and a few of his remarks were that Roswell has joined an exclusive group of communities committed to water stewardship. The state's Water First communities have a demonstrated track record and solidly developed strategic plans that support long-time excellence in water resource management. The Water First review team was especially impressed with how Roswell is such a small utility and are proactive with conservation, which is necessary given the resource supply limits. They have an excellent education program that not only educates both adults and children on how to conserve water, but also have a wetland area near an elementary school and take advantage of that by teaching children how water conservation helps the environment. They reach out to other communities such as Alpharetta to implement water resource initiatives. We are very proud to bring this forward. Our department has been very much involved, but a number of departments of the city have been instrumental in bringing this here, and so this is certainly a citywide award. I have to tell you, though, we wouldn't have received it but for the hard work and energy of Yvonne Douglas, our deputy director. She is the one that got the details about this, put it together, and made sure that all the rest of us did the things that we needed to do. Chris Boyd is here representing the Water Resources Division, and he has brought one of the community signs that we will post through the help of our transportation department at the entrances to our community. We're very proud of this award and proud to be a part of the City of Roswell.
And within the Public Works Environmental Offices, we'll be posting our plaque that we received during the signature ceremony. So please come by and take a look. And we are very, very excited about this program. There's lots of great opportunities, and we're being recognized for all of our hard work. And it's everybody. It's a group effort. So we all deserve to be proud of all our efforts. Thank you.
Yvonne, thank you on behalf of the city for putting all of the application together, making this happen. I want to thank Stu Mooring and the council and David Tollison, who was on the council when the work was done to achieve this award. The city of Roswell was founded based upon water. Water has always been first in this city. I think Roswell has, I want to thank Councilman Orleans, who was champion developing the broadest tributary protection zones in the state of Georgia. David Tollison, who was championed stormwater utility and got us to the 10-yard line, and we're still waiting. We're in first and 10 right now, waiting to go in and get that. And the entire council and Stu Mooring for really making it important and making it an issue. First, I think Roswell recognized early on that what a critical resource water was, even before the water wars and the drought. And as a consequence, I think we have a lead on the rest of the state in dealing with our water issue because of the foresight of the council and the support of the citizens. So one more hand for all those folks.
Next item, approval of installation of irrigation meters and upon request and requiring them for new irrigation systems. Mr. Moore.
Yes, sir. Thank you. It was about 10 years ago that the city determined that use of irrigation meters was counterproductive in that it promoted water usage. And that was the case at that time. However, in the interim, we have developed a conservation rate structure. We have developed other mechanisms, and it is now the trend among water efficiency managers that allowing and in fact encouraging the use of irrigation meters is a benefit to the appropriate management of the water system. And so it is now our recommendation that we return to the prior policy of allowing for irrigation meters. And just by way of explanation for those who may not understand, an irrigation meter is a separate meter from the domestic one, which is not billed for sewer service. So a person has some reduction. However, all of the water that goes through that meter is billed at the top tier, the irrigation rate. It provides us better control with a greater level of backflow prevention and a greater measure of control during drought periods. Our recommendation is that you approve this policy change.
Do we have a motion?
Move for approval.
Motion by Councilman Orleans. Do we have a second? Second by Councilmember DiPolito. Does anyone in the audience have any questions or comments? Any further discussion by council? All in favor of the motion, raise their hands. Passes unanimously. Mr. Mooring, while we're talking about water, why don't you give the audience and the council an update on other good news about our well drilling?
Yes, sir. We have had for some time a program to develop our groundwater supply in Roswell. We have thus far drilled 2 test wells. One was dry. The second one shows indications of being a very prolific well. We have brought in an additional drill rig that will allow us to probe that more deeply and get.
It's my understanding there was so much water pressure the first drill wouldn't push back against the water pressure. That's the reason for the bigger bit.
Yes, sir.
So we have a gusher.
Yes, sir. We were trying to not talk too much about that because the price might go up for the land, but actually we're very encouraged. But the geologists keep reminding us that, we've got further test work to be done and additional study to really determine what the long-term safe yield would be from this well. But we're continuing to do drilling at other locations as well that will bolster our supply and ultimately reduce the cost of water production for the city. So we have great hopes, and we're absolutely encouraged about the prospects for this well.
Mr. Orleans, given that I spoke out of line, if you'll bring up item 4 on the heels of that. No, item 6.
Item 6, yeah. We'll skip item 5 and go to item 6 since we got sidetracked here and out of order and comments over. Anyway, we're going to talk about the authorization for the mayor and our city administrator to sign a contract amendment in an amount not to exceed $200,000 with Emery and Garrett Groundwater, Inc. for continued and simultaneous exploration and production phase groundwater development. So, Stu, you want to finish what you had started there?
Yes, sir. The existing test well that we have done, the original plan was to look at 5 or 6 locations, drill test wells, then evaluate the relative efficiency of those locations, and then go on to the testing and ultimate production well development. However, this well has shown itself to be such a positive one that we'd like to go ahead and move into the testing phase of that while we simultaneously go to other locations to drill. This money is budgeted in the current year, and actually in the amount of $400,000. We're asking authorization to now modify our current contract with Emery and Garrett to add an additional $200,000 to the existing contract and to allow multiple phases to be going on at the same time.
This basically is the mayor started to bring up the idea that we have one test well that we feel we need to go ahead and move it towards the production phase and see if it's valid while we are looking at other wells from an exploratory standpoint. So I would like to move for approval of the authorization for the contract.
Motion by Councilman Orleans. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Eigelhart. Does anyone in the audience have any questions or comments? Yes, sir. Come forward, please.
Can we get this turned on? Is it on? Lee Fleck, Martin's Landing. I have quite a few questions this evening. As you all know, I have a keen interest in water. I want to start by asking any of you if you really know who Emery and Garnett is. Do any of you have any idea of their history?
Yes, sir, I have an idea.
You do?
They're in the well drilling business.
Okay, well, let me just bore you for a couple of minutes so that you understand where I will go after this. In 1960, our illustrious leaders in Washington passed something that you all probably heard of. It's called the Clean Air Act. In that act, they mandated 2 additives in petroleum products. One of them was called met-tert-butyl ether. For the first 40 years, it was used exclusively because it was a lot cheaper than the other one. And they subsequently came to find out that this was not only carcinogenic, but it had contaminated a significant portion of water wells throughout the United States. The state of California is totally, all its water wells, subterranean water wells, are contaminated with met-tert-butyl ether because it is an additive that is soluble in water. You say, well, what's the big deal? Emery and Garnett was one of the leading groundwater companies to identify this contaminant and was instrumental in effectively eliminating its use throughout the United States. So I wanted you to know that so that you have a comfort level with this company, number one. Number two, the other additive, just for your information, because you're all using it today every time you fill up your gas tank, is a thing called ethanol. Okay, that being stated, what I really was interested in finding out is because I think there are some long-term plans here that I would like to find out a little bit more about. Many of you may be aware of this. This is the Metropolitan North Water Planning District analysis or organization, and in its May 5th or May 7th, 2009 report, it contained something I found rather interesting, and of course you can't see it. Is there any way to focus this in, because this is critical to what I want to talk about, and Stu, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about here. That may be about as good as we can get. At any rate, what this is a statement already by the ARC of Roswell's expansion of existing water facilities, which already includes this section right here, which deals with your Oxbow plant. That states the existing 1 million gallons per day output, which that figure there is 1.8, which you don't even attain right now. It is projected by the end of this year to be up to, by the end of 2010, to be up to 3. So you're going to triple the output of your existing Oxbow plant. These are plans, these are already in the ARC. I assume this is not something new to you all. The second side over here deals with your water wells and what is already projected now and will be projected by the year 2015 for a total of 5 million gallons per day. These plans are already obviously in work somewhere. Okay, as I said, you're going from 1.2 to 3 by the end of the year, and you anticipate 2 million gallons per day from water wells. Okay, now, I really need to know what's going on, because not only are you doing the tests and everything, you have already projected what is candidly, from my experience, a very, very, very expensive proposition for taxpayers. In the last 2 years, you spent $2.5 million to upgrade your existing infrastructure and facilities at Oxbow plant. You're projecting another $1.6 million this fiscal year for a new tank and some other things. And what it's doing, it's benefiting a very small percentage of the population in this city, a mere 5,000 people out of 100,000 people in this entire city. Now, I think that the balance of the population in this city has a right to know what we're talking about. I've built water plants. I know how expensive they are. Okay? And this is what I see coming. Granted, with subsurface water, the purification requirements are significantly lower, but they still are. So you're going to get into high volume water processing equipment, are you not?
Before we start answering questions, I want to make sure I've got all the questions on the table, and then we'll try to answer your questions.
No, I would like an honest answer as to what this is saying.
Yes, sir, and we're going to give you an honest answer, but first I want us to get all your questions on the table.
Well, the only other question I had, I thought the 200,000 that you were projecting was like the second half of the 400,000, but correct me, this is an additional 200,000? It's not. Okay, it's part of the 400,000? Yes. Okay, so it's an incremental. Okay. I can certainly understand that based on my communications with you, Mr. Mournin, that you're really got a long way to go before you make final determinations, okay? But again, I see this kind of stuff, which is public record, and I'm wondering what caused it, what generated it. Okay? That's all my questions.
And we'll try to answer those questions if you'll have a seat. Mr. Mooring, if you could first respond to the comments about the chart and sort of explain what that chart is and where it came from, and I'm not aware that we have approved all of that.
Yes, sir. The chart is from the Metropolitan North Georgia Water Planning District plan. It is a planning document. It is a long-term projection of facilities. We had taken the approach that we wanted to lay out our hopes and expectations because under the current state policy, Georgia EPD will not allow consideration of anything that's not included in that plan. So, as you know, about a year and a half ago, we did a safe yield analysis on Big Creek. Currently, we withdraw, as Mr. Fleck said, 1.2 million gallons per day. And that study showed that we could withdraw safely, that is to say without reducing the base flow in the creek, we could safely withdraw 3 million gallons a day 95% of the time. Obviously, the other 5% is drought periods when low flow in the creek would prevent us from withdrawing that much. So it was based on that study that we then embarked on looking at various alternatives, and the groundwater study is one of those alternatives. Other options, of course, would be an additional surface supply, reservoir storage, or a continuing arrangement for purchase of supplemental water, either raw or treated. So we're evaluating all of those different things. They are part of our departmental or the Water Resource Division master plan for us to evaluate all those factors. They are not, we don't have specific plans to build anything. All of this is exploratory. When we have the information from both the groundwater study and then any further work that we would do with regard to surface water, that would be presented. And the intention, as you know, the water system is entirely self-sufficient. No tax money is spent on that. So the intention would be that we can provide better cost, more efficient operation of the overall system. As you know, at our current size, we're not able to produce all the water that we can sell, and so we have an economy of scale issue. By expanding that, we can improve the economy of scale, bring down the cost per 1,000 gallons of water, and make it more efficient for the 5,500 services, roughly 14,000 people that are on that system.
So the numbers which Mr. Fleck cited are aspirational numbers. We had to include these numbers if we, as a possibility. The council has not yet approved the expenditure, but we have high hopes.
Yes, sir.
That we would like to be able to provide as much water as possible, so we had control over that scarce resource within the city of Roswell, and we're not dependent upon Atlanta or Fulton County like Sandy Springs is, who has to pay a very high fee. So this is aspiration.
Yes, sir.
And I want to emphasize that the water department is an enterprise fund. It is not funded by the taxpayers generally. It doesn't come out of your property taxes or your sales taxes. All the money for the water fund comes from people who are on our water system. Now, our hope is if we can get more of a supply, is to expand that water system so we have a larger water system and we can provide to more customers in Roswell. But right now, we are limited in what we can draw from Big Creek. We don't have a permit to witdraw from the Chattahoochee River. So that's why we're looking at other sources. But the goal is to provide good, clean water to as many citizens as we can on a cost basis at no cost to the general taxpayer, but only to the folks that we can service, and to expand that service to as many people as we can.
Yes, sir. Exactly right.
Does the council have any questions for Mr. Mooring? Thank you, Mr. Mooring. Any other questions from any other citizens about our plans? We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, raise their hands. Passes unanimously.
And now to go back to item 5, which is approval of a plan for the Sway Branch water line extension and roadway project and budget amendment 7110 CP-08-17-09 in the amount of $10,000. Mr. Mooring, can you describe this for the council?
Yes, sir. Thank you. The Sway Branch waterline extension was something approved for the use of the special CDBG Community Development Block Grant stimulus money, and is part of a larger project that would include a road extension connecting between Marketplace and Sway Branch, so ultimately connecting both the water line and the roadway between Warsaw Road and Grimes Bridge. One of the considerations is the property that would have to be acquired for the roadway, which includes 2 detention ponds on it. In order to determine what our potential liability would be, we have found that we need to have some additional study done, a hydrologic study, and of those 2 ponds and the drainage areas that they serve, and we have found that can be done for under $10,000. Previously, we had talked with you about also doing a geotechnical study. We've determined that will not be necessary to make the decisions that we need to and give us a good ultimate cost estimate of the liability for those ponds. So our recommendation is, and the funding is available from cost savings from stormwater capital projects that were undertaken in fiscal 2009 that were not, savings from those projects, so that money is available without having to budget anything additional.
Mr. Mooring, do you believe that by spending this $10,000 for engineering, we can save cost on the overall project? We'll lower the overall construction cost, and this will save us money.
Mayor, more so that this will give us a better understanding of what the total cost would be, so that we don't get into something that might be a huge expense with regard to rehabilitating those detention ponds. So it's rather a prudent investment, insurance, if you will, against a potential huge liability that we don't want to encumber along with the roadway.
Does the council have any questions for Mr. Mooring? Any questions from the audience? Any further discussion by council? Do we have a motion yet?
No.
Let's get a motion.
I'd like to move for approval of a plan and a budget amendment as outlined.
Motion for approval by Councilman Orleans. Do we have a second? Second by Councilmember Becky Wynn. Anyone in the audience have any questions or comments? Any further discussion by council? All in favor of the motion, raise their hands. Passes unanimously. This time I'll call upon Councilmember Ken Eigelhart, liaison to the Administration and Finance Department.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thankfully there was no misunderstanding about this next agenda item. I would have hated for word to have gone out that this was a town hall meeting on health care. We would have had a different meeting tonight.
Obviously.
Exactly. We would have had to deal with this first. But this is dealing with health care, and the city and our employees are both always dealing with health care and our annual premium increases. But thankfully we have a great staff, and Diane Whitfield heading that effort to always control that, and is another example of having done a great job. So please tell us more.
As you all know, it was a challenging year this year for health care benefits. In the last 4 years, the City of Roswell has enjoyed excellent claims experience. We renewed for less than 1% last year, which is unprecedented. Trend for the nation was running around 8%. This year, claims have been sky high, much more difficult. We're running at 96% of premium. And so we returned with a 33% renewal from Aetna, which meant we had to go back out into the marketplace. We were dealing with almost $300,000 less in the budget cuts than we had last year to buy health insurance. Out into the marketplace for all lines, we have ended up with our recommendation, as we brought to you in committee, for United Healthcare, for medical, for an HRA and an HSA. We went back out to our employees and asked them what they would like to see for their health care, yet we still wanted to remain competitive with the surrounding government entities. 80% of our employees who answered the survey said that absolutely they wanted to retain the level of benefits that they had now, and they would be willing to participate on that. Employees now it'll be about a 90-10% split, employees taking 10% of the premium, and the City of Roswell paying 90%. That's very competitive with the surrounding area. If you include deductibles that will be in both of the plans, and you include the premiums, employees will be contributing about $1.5 million to the total cost of health care. That's about 31% of the total bill. So although this is a difficult economic time, and employees wanted to keep their health care, we propose that you keep Aetna for long-term, short-term disability and life, and Guardian for our dental, and consider United Healthcare in the two plans we propose for medical care.
Any questions for staff? Do we have a motion?
Move for approval to authorize the mayor and or city administrator to sign contracts with United Healthcare, Aetna, and Guardian to provide employee benefits for the period October 1, 2009 to September 30th, 2010.
Motion by Councilmember Eigelhart. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Wynn. Does anyone in the audience have any questions or comments? Any further discussion by council? All in favor of the motion, raise their hands. Passes unanimously. Diane Whitfield and Ken Eigelhart, thank you for working with employees to maintain the benefits that they want at a cost that our taxpayers can afford. Thank you.
Thank you all.
This time I'll call upon Councilmember Becky Wynn, liaison to the Transportation Department.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Mr. Eisenbrack. This is approval of an ordinance updating Article 22.6, speed limits appendix of the Roswell Code of Ordinances, and this is the second reading.
Thank you, Councilmember Wynn. Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. The Roswell Transportation Department is proud of the part we play in maintaining the safety and security of our city. Georgia state law requires that each jurisdiction have an approved speed detection permit to allow the speed limits to be enforced. Roswell permit was last updated in 2006 and expires on December 31st of this year. During this process, we look at our entire road network. We make recommendations about adjustments to the Georgia Department of Transportation. They review our requests, they send back their decisions, then we package these all up and make changes to Article 22.6 Speed Limit Appendix to Chapter 22 of the Traffic and Motor Vehicles chapter of our Code of Ordinances. This we discussed at committee. They have both all the streets in the city. They have a term for it called on system, which means the routes that are actually on Georgia state routes, State Route 9, 140, 120, for instance, and then off system, which really constitute the bulk of our roads. And each road segment is identified with the speed limit attached to it, and they're all identified line by line in this appendix. The chapter includes both static and variable speed limits. For instance, a road segment may have a static speed limit. And what is a dynamic speed limit, you might ask? Well, for instance, around school zones. And I'll just, for for your information, throw a few of these up here. Mike Elliott has done a great job of graphing a speed limit around a school. So what this is, for instance, in Roswell High School, we have limits associated with the various legs, the borders of the school zones, and the crosswalks, and we go so many feet off of each, and we identify where that speed limit will be enforced during the time when school is in session, both in the AM and the PM. And that's Roswell High. That's what Mimosa Elementary looks like. And this is Sweet Apple. We have 12 schools, 12 public schools in the city of Roswell, and these are the limits for the variable speeds. We brought this to committee on July 22nd and are looking for approval from the mayor and city council to finalize this process.
We have a motion for approval.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Halsey
need
needs
a
to
reading. Yes, sir.
This will be the second reading. Ordinance to amend Chapter 22, Traffic and Motor Vehicles of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Roswell, Georgia. Whereas the official Code of Georgia annotated Title 40, Article 9, Section 40-6-183 of the Uniform Rules of the Road Act authorizes the local authority to alter lawful speed limits. Now, therefore, to accomplish the foregoing, the Mayor and Council of the City of Roswell, pursuant to their authority, do hereby adopt the following ordinance. Chapter 22, Traffic and Motor Vehicles of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Roswell, Georgia, is amended by deleting therefrom Article 22.6, Speed Limits Appendix, and substituting in lieu thereof a new Article 22.6 to read as set forth in the appendix attached hereto and incorporated herein by reference.
Do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
Motion for approval by Councilmember Wynn. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Eigelhart. Does anyone in the audience have any questions or comments? Any further? Yes, sir. Councilmember DiPolito.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Eisenbrack, for putting up those charts on the school system. I think it's important to point out that Roswell exceeds the minimum standards, and if you could elaborate a little bit on that. I don't want to misquote what we've done there, but I think that's a positive for Roswell.
Sure. Thank you, Councilmember DiPolito. I'll just show you this as a graphic. This is out of the MUTCD, and what this shows is, the reason those signs are upside down because it shows you exactly how they will look as you're approaching them. But what this shows is a typical school with the school limits, and then crosswalks within a school limit, and it specifies the distances that we're allowed to go for a minimum for both the borders of the school and or the crosswalks, and you do this based on the first one that you come to. Well, we have taken that this is the minimum guidance. We've taken that and we've expanded it to include actually natural features. Sometimes if you go to a certain sort of not necessarily a common sense landmark, if you will. For instance, if this ends in the middle of a turn, it's awkward to just sort of end it right there. So we take it through the turn, and we make it something that's clearly identifiable by common people as they're passing through these various speed zones. So what we do is we actually err on the side of safety for the school children.
Any other questions? Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, raise their hands. Passes unanimously. Thank you. This time we'll hear from our city administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This item is to approve to reschedule the mayor and council meeting of Monday, September the 7th, which is Labor Day, to Wednesday, September the 9th, 2009.
Do we have a motion? Motion by Councilmember Becky Wynn for approval. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Eigelhart. All in favor, raise your hands. Passes unanimously. We're adjourned.
Huh?
Yes, thank you. Not a problem.